Hello guys, and welcome back to another episode. So today we're going to talk about, yes, as you can see on the screen, Protection Paladin. So I've got this request about Protection Paladin for quite some time, and I must admit that I haven't really supported that through. So now we're going through Protection Paladin, and I actually really enjoy playing with Protection Paladin. I've tested it in patch 8.1, and I must say that it's quite fun. I'm probably still more to other tank classes, but again, it's a different opinion everyone have. So Protection Paladin. So what can you expect from this little guide? Well, you can expect what is the changes from patch 8.0 to 8.1. What is the stats you need as Protection Paladin? What Azerite trait should you focus on? What talents should you have? And the last thing we're going to talk about is the gameplay. How do I play Protection Paladin and what can I recommend on how to play it? I mean, it's not like DPS where you have to use this as the opener, to use this boom 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 boom. It's more like the gameplay. How do you play it and which spell should you use and what kind of spell should you have always up on yourself to help out your healer. So let's go directly to the changes and see what it has. So boom, here we are. So changes. So Hand of the Protector now increase healing done depending on the target's missing health instead of your own. That means before you heal the person depending on how much life you have. That's not the case anymore. Now you heal the target, like if you're healing your healer with Hand of the Protector, and if he only have 10% health, it will heal a lot because it heals more for how much they miss in healing, or how much they miss in health. So, and I mean, the tank is always going to be full health if the healer is good and have focus and all that. You know what I mean. So, I would say this is a buff. Also in 8.1 for Protection Paladins, ranged physical attacks are now blockable. So that means for enemies that is shooting at you with bow or guns, you can actually block that now. And then we have a little change, and a change that I like. Dauntless Divinity has been removed, it's an Azerite trait, and replaced with the Azerite trait called Righteous Conviction, which increased the healing done by Light of the Protector. Well, Light of the Protector, Hand of the Protector is basically the same, as well as always providing the maximum healing increase during Avenging Wrath. So that means when you know, depending on how much life you need, it will heal more. But now when you use Avenging Wrath, it will always heal the maximum. If you have this Azerite trait, I mean, that is pretty cool. It only works on that cooldown, but still it's a cool one. Then we have Azerite Fortification has been removed and replaced with Imperial Ward, which increased the target's armor or smile, but by a small amount for 1 minute after being healed by your lay on hands. I mean, that's also a fine trait. So boom boom. So that was the changes from 8.0 to 8.1. I mean, nothing big, nothing that will change the big rotation style, but still, of course, there's some numbers that maybe have been changed on some spells, but not like big changes I would mention here. So now, let's now go to the stats. Boom, stats. So first of all, haste is your most best secondary stat. Of course, your main stat is going to be strange, but I mean, strange is like on all your gear except trinkets, and if you get a trinket where you can either choose between strange or haste, I would recommend a strange trinket. But still, so for the secondary stats, that is like the stat you have to look for, haste is the primary one you need most of. Why, you ask? Because haste reduces the cooldown of your global cooldown, so you can use spells faster. It reduces the cooldown of a lot of your spells that actually helps your other defense spells to be more up. So I mean, haste in total is helping you on your defenses, because the more haste you have, the more spells you can use, and the more defense you can hold up on one time. So that is pretty great. After haste, it's mastery, and mastery is actually having a quite cool one. It increases your attack power. It decreases the damage you take while standing in the consecrate, and that's actually a quite interesting mastery, that you have to stand in your consecrate and you get less damage. So beside that, it's actually quite cool. It also increases your block chance actually. So it increases your block, it decrease the damage taken in consecration, and it increases your attack power. And now you probably ask, but isn't mastery stronger than haste? No, because haste is still better because it increases it increases still the damage you deal because you deal fast damage. It reduces the cooldown on your spells, it reduces your global cooldown, and the low cooldown on your spells, so you can use your spells faster, is equal that you have more defense up on one time. And if you keep asking, what do you mean with my defense uptime? Well, you have your spell called Shield of Righteous, and haste is helping you keeping that up, and that's a defense spell that you should have up all the time. So that's why haste is helping. So again, haste, mastery is the two primary secondary stats. So haste and then mastery, and versatility is basically doing what mastery is in a sort of a way. I mean, versatility is increasing your flat damage and reducing also the damage you take reducing, but still mastery is still stronger. So after mastery is versatility. For the last one, you have critical strike, and critical strike doesn't really help Protection Paladins much. I mean, you have Hand of the Protector. You know, the spell where you cast on yourself where you get healing, and of course, if that crits, I mean, yes, then it's awesome, but it's not a stat you should go for. And also, when you use your Avenger, your Paladin wings, you also get more critical strike. So it's not really a thing you have to think about. So again, haste is the most important, mastery, and then versatility. Boom. For the next topic we're going to cover is the Azerite. So what type of Azerite should you use for outer ring, middle ring, and inner ring? So for the outer ring, I recommend Inspiring Vanguards. Grand Crusader chance is increased to 20, and it grants you 200 strength for 8 seconds. So the chance for Grand Crusaders to proc is increased to 20, and it gives you a lot of strength. I mean, what's not to like on that one? And the next one is Soaring Shield. Avenger Shield now strikes 4 enemies and grants 42 mastery per enemy struck for 8 seconds. That is pretty solid, I would mean. For the middle ring, I have Ablative Shielding. Falling below 40% health grants you 622 armor for 10 seconds. Taking physical damage reduces the armor granted, may only occur every 30 seconds. And if you cannot take that one, I recommend taking Overwhelming Power. Your damaging abilities have a chance to grant you 25 application in Overwhelming Power. Each of these stacks grant you haste, and one stack will fade off every second. So you will start with 25 stacks that give, for example, 20 haste, and it will then fade off. But as I told you, haste is the most important stat you can get, so that's why Overwhelming Power is really important. But again, Ablative Shielding, I would say that is much more important if you can get that one, because it can save your life. For the inner ring, I would say it's kind of to you which one you want, but I have some I can recommend. For example, when dealt damage greater than 10% of your maximum health, you gain 121 avoidance and 121 armor for 10 seconds. It's very close to what we have in Ablative Shielding, that it kind of helps you with armor. And if you can't get that one, I'm actually a big fan of Impassive Visage. So every time you take damage, you get a healing, and it can happen every 6 seconds. So that is my favorite inner ring traits, I would say. So that was the changes, the stats, and the Azerite. And now we should go through talents. So let's jump into the game. And here we are in the game. So this is my Protection Paladin, and let me go through the talents I'm recommending for playing as a Protection Paladin. So the first row, I would always, no matter what, recommend using Holy Shield. It gives you 15% more block, and it also makes you able to block spells. I mean, that is insane. Both Redoubled and Blessed Hammer, I don't really like those. Holy Shield makes you so much more defensive, and you can block spells. I mean, that is insane. So Holy Shield 100%. For the next row, I recommend Crusader's Judgment because it gives you more judgment. So Judgment now has 2 charges, and Grand Crusader now also grants a charge of Judgment. So that means the more judgment you have, well, you can see here that Judgment is reduced and remain cooldown on Shield of Righteous by 2 seconds or 4 on critical strike. That means the more judgment you can cast, the lower cooldown on Shield of Righteous, and you like to have lower cooldown of Shield of Righteous, that is good. So Crusader Judgment is the best one for defensive. First Avenger is the best one if you want to deal more damage. But if you want to be more defensive and sustainable and much more likely your healer would love you, I would say Crusader Judgment because you can hold up more Shield of Righteous. So I would recommend that one. And then the next row is basically up to you if you want to have a sheep spell, if you want to have, well, lower cooldown on your stun, so Judgment reduce the remaining cooldown on your Hammer of Justice, or if you want to have an AoE interrupt. So this one here, you can basically interrupt a whole group if they are casting spells at the same time. It's pretty much up to you which situation you are in. For the next row, Retribution Arrow is so weak, so it's not a good spell in no matter which situation. Blessing of Spell Warding is good, but remember, if you take Blessing of Spell, Blessing of Spell Warden, you're pretty much losing Blessing of Protection. So Blessing of Protection is making you immune for all physical damage, and Blessing of Spell Warding is making you immune to all spell damage. So do you want, so do you want to replace physical damage with spell damage? That's up to you. You have to think about which boss are we going to face now, and is he going to use fire spells or physical damage, for example. If you need the physical damage, I would normally just say go with Cavalier because it makes you more easier to run around if you need it. Retribution Aura is not worth really at all. I cannot recommend it at all. On the next row, Unbreakable Spirit is great if you need lower cooldown on your spells, for example for Divine Shield, Ardent Defender and Lay on Hands. But you can only really use Ardent Defender with this talent because Lay on Hands still has a very big cooldown, and Divine Shield is not really allowed to use because you will miss all the aggro. So it's a fine talent. Ardent Defender, I mean, it only has 2 minute cooldown, so with this one here, how much is it? It's like 1.4. So it's kind of cool that you have only 1.4 on your Ardent Defender. I can see it's great in some cases, but Final Stand is an insane cooldown. So it makes that Divine Shield is, well, when you use Divine Shield, when you use Divine Shield, you will get immune to all damage. Basically you get you're like a guard for 8 seconds. And now you will probably tell me, but we will lose all the aggro. No, if you take Final Stand, you will aggro taunt all the targets within 15 yards for 8 seconds. That's the same time you have Divine Shield on. So that means with this talent here, Divine Shield is going to be an extra cooldown you can use. So you're close to dying and you can see your healer is not able to help you. Divine Shield, boom, you cannot die anymore for 8 seconds and you still hold the aggro. It's insane. And at the same time you still have Ardent Defender. So Final Stand is a really great cooldown I would recommend also. I would probably play with Final Stand because it's kind of cool and it can save you a butt in a lot of this situations. Hand of Protector, I only recommend that one if your healer is needing help on healing. That, I mean, if you need healing and the group needs some kind of big heal support from you, you can take it. But if they don't need, I would never take it, because then your healing would just only heal you, but this talent will also be able to cast it on others in your group. But only take it if you heal and need help. For the next row, in a raid, I recommend Judgment of Light, because your Judgment now causes the next 25 successful attacks against the target to heal the attacker. So that means if you use it on a boss, Judgment, everyone gets healing. Consecrated Ground is a great one in Mythic dungeons, and it makes your consecration bigger, so you can move bigger around it. And remember that consecration reduces the damage you take when you're inside it, so it kind of makes it better for you in a situation where you have to move a lot. And so I would say Consecrated Ground is probably the best one for Mythics, and Judgment of Light is probably the best one for raids. On the last road, Righteous Protector is pretty much the best one in every situation. Shield of Righteous reduces the remaining cooldown of Light of the Protector and Avenging Wrath by 3 seconds. It is really good, and I cannot argue anyhow that it's not good. So no matter what, I would go with Righteous Protector in any situation. But if you want, let's say for example in a Mythic dungeon, Last Defender is actually also okay. Each enemy within 8 yards reduces the damage you take and increase the damage you deal by up to 3. So in a Mythic dungeon where you have a lot of trash mobs, Last Defender can be really good. Keep that in mind. But Righteous Protector is the best one, I would say, for a raid, and Last Defender is probably one you can use in Mythic dungeon. But again, it's only good on trash mobs. Just remember that. Only on trash mob. On bosses, it's only 3%. So, but on trash mobs, it's great. So I can recommend this one here on Mythics, and this one on raid. So that was my talents. Let's go through the spells and let's see what the most important things in the gameplay is. Okay, so now it's the gameplay. So how I recommend, or I will just give you some tips on how the gameplay is working. So every time I'm pulling a group, I recommend using Avenger's Shield. So Avenger's Shield is a great one for pulling. It deals great damage, and it also silences the enemies, so that if you want them to run to you, you can basically use Avenging Shield and they will begin to run to you. You also get this little buff here that it increases the next Shield of Righteous damage by, well, the effect of your next Shield of Righteous are increased by 20. So by effect they mean, it also affects the, it also affects pretty much everything about it. So right now if I use Shield of Righteous, you can see here, armor is increased by 5,800, and if I use Avenger's Shield, it is now 7,000. So what I do first is pull with Avenger's Shield. So while I'm running towards the target, I would say, so now I'm running forward, Avenger's Shield, and when I get close to the target, I would use Shield of Righteous, and then a Judgment. Now you maybe think, why not start with a Judgment? But the problem with starting with a Judgment is that it decreases the cooldown of Shield of Righteous. So if I don't use any Shield of Righteous at all, and I just use a Judgment, I'm not decreasing any cooldowns, and that would not make any sense. So again, I would start Avenging Shield, and then Shield of Righteous, Consecration. And the reason for why I'm using Consecration is, you can see we get this buff. Hammer of Righteous also causes a wave of light that hits all enemy near the targets, and damage taken reduced by 6.3. So again, I would start with Avenger's Shield, Shield of Righteous, Consecration, and now I can use Judgment, Shield of Righteous, Judgment, Shield of Righteous, Shield of Righteous, Judgment, Avenging Shield, Consecration, Judgment, and now you will see that I'm not able to have Shield of Righteous ready. That is because Protection Paladin is not like Brewmaster Monks, where you can have up a debuff or a buff, or like Protection Warriors. You cannot keep up Shield of Righteous up 100% of the fight. So that is why Shield of Righteous is actually important for you to kind of save one stack all the time for a high impact. So you know, okay, these mobs are going to deal a lot of damage in 3 seconds. Then don't use your Shield of Righteous now. Wait those 3 or 2 seconds and then use Shield of Righteous, and it increases your armor in that situation. So Shield of Righteous should not be used like the spells that Brewmaster Monk have and Protection Warrior, where you just have to have it up on yourself all the time, because you will not be able to hold it up all the time. You will probably have like a 3-second gap where you're not having active. So don't think about it like a spell you need to have up all the time, but kind of think about it like a spell that you can always use. And keep in mind, it doesn't have any global cooldown, so it doesn't share any global cooldown. So you can see it doesn't share global cooldown with Avenging Shield and all the other spells. So you can pretty much cast Avenging Shield and Shield of Righteous at the same time, or Judgment and Shield of Righteous. So again, if I have to open up for a boss, I would start with Avenging Shield, Shield of Righteous, Judgments for reducing the cooldown of Shield of Righteous, and hold up Consecration all the time. So keep in mind, Consecration is on the ground for 12 seconds, and your main job is to hold it up, because while standing in Consecration you take less damage. So again, when I open up for a boss, Avenging Shield, Shield of Righteous, Consecration, Judgment to reduce the cooldown of Shield of Righteous, and when nothing else to do, spam Hammer of Righteous. Damn, I just itched a lot. So you cannot say which rotation is the best. I would say you cannot say the best rotation for Paladin protection, because we're just tanking. So again, open up with Avenging Shield, always have Consecration on the ground, use Shield of Righteous every time you need some more armor, and remember, when you use a Shield of Righteous after Avenging Shield, you get more. You can also use Judgment, that is reducing the cooldown of Shield of Righteous if you need to use Shield of Righteous more often. Another important one is that you have Light of Protector that you can use on yourself, free cast every 16 seconds. So if you need any healing, you can help the healer out with casting Light of the Protector, and depending on how much life you're below 100%, it actually increases the more healing. So if you're on 20%, it will heal a lot of more than if you are on 50%. So again, always have Consecration active, that's like a must. Always stand inside Consecration. Use Avenging Shield all the time you can. Use Judgment also when you can, but don't use Judgment if you don't have any Shield of Righteous and cooldown. Then use a Shield of Righteous and use your Judgments. You don't want to waste a Judgment without having any Shield of Righteous and cooldowns. Spam Hammer of Righteous when nothing else to do. I mean, it's just a spell that deals damage, and if you are standing inside Consecration, it hits all the enemies. So that is pretty much the standard gameplay. And with your Light of Protector, that heals you. Remember Light of Protector, it can really help you and save you in all situations. Beside that, we have our stun, Hammer of Justice. We have Guardians of the Ancient King that reduces all the damage you take by 50. It is really an insane cooldown on 8 seconds. We also have Ardent Defender, so it reduces all damage you take by 20%, and if you should get a hit that would normally have killed you, you actually get a free healing up to 20%. So it's like a lifesaver, like Holy Priestess can also give you like a lifesaver. Then you have Avenging Wrath that increases damage, healing, and critical strike chance by 20 seconds. And it's really great. I mean, now I deal more damage, I heal more. It's great. You also have Blessing of Freedom, so you can move around without getting slowed. You have Blessing of Protection if you need some immunity for physical damage. And you have Blessing of Sacrifice if you need to take some damage for another person. So I think it's, how much is it? 30% of all the damage, reducing the damage taken by 30, but you suffer 100% of the damage prevented. So 30% of the damage they get less, you will get that in the head. You also have Taunt if you need to taunt the target. And keep in mind, if you play with Final Stand, when you use your shield, where is it here? You also taunt all your targets. So they attack you can see here, taunted. It's pretty cool. And keep in mind you have Cleansing, so you can remove poison, disease, and you have a heal that you can use that costs mana. Keep in mind that Light of Protector doesn't cost mana, so you can use all your mana on flashlights and still use Light of Protector. But use Light of Protector first because it heals more depending on how much life you're missing. So I would actually say that that is pretty much the Protection Paladin. Yeah, that is the Protection Paladin. I think we did it. We did it. So I hope you enjoyed this little Protection Paladin guide. I mean, I'm just going through all the basics of how you play Protection Paladin, what I recommend, and how I would recommend the gameplay. And after watching this guide, you should be able now to play the Protection Paladins without any problems doing dungeon, mythics, and even doing raids. So of course raid will require you to read up the text and the bosses, but still. So I hope you enjoyed this little guide, and thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and yeah, thank you so much. I'm almost on 3,000 subscribers, and I'm so hyped for getting up to 3,000 subscribers. I'm doing some kind of a giveaway. I'm not sure what could be a cool giveaway, but again, so thanks. I'm so grateful for you all watching this video, and thank you guys for liking the video, subscribing, and leave down a comment which guide would you like to see next time. So thanks guys for watching, have a nice day, and stay awesome.